Hello. So, as promised, we're ready now to do an episode on an in-depth instructional video on how to set out footings for an extension. So, if you come around here, we've dug out as far as we can the retaining wall because it kind of interferes with our profiles that we're going to be setting up around here. So we've had to dig an extra bit out to allow to get us a solid thing for our profiles, because you don't want them moving after you've set it out, because that's going to be your reference for the entire job, including the brickwork, etc, etc. So the first thing we're going to do, because we haven't got a lot to go on here, we've got literally that brick there, which to be honest looks twisted as I'm looking at it, but and two bricks worth there, which could also be twisted. So I would say a more accurate representation of the building line would be this porch, as I'm assuming it was built nice and parallel to the main house. So what we're going to do is I've discreetly screwed in the mortar joint a little screw around the corner, so that when we pull that tight, it will stay pinched on the brick there. And then, with the help of my lovely assistant, Papa Keith, one of us will pull that string line, project it through the line that we're going to be digging, and when it touches, it's going to get pulled in towards the wall until it just touches this brick edge here, which should give us the most accurate true reading of the line of the building, which we will then cast straight through. So first of all, actually no, because we're going to need two pairs of hands, so let me explain then what we're going to do. So once we've pulled it through, we're approximately here where I've rubbed my finger in the clay there, so we know that that line is approximately there. So that then will allow us to start making our profiles, and probably have to set one up there, peg in the ground there, and then come square parallel to the building, and probably, so it's not in the footing, put another peg by here, and then hopefully they won't get disturbed. I mean, I can concrete that one in if I really want to. So yeah, I'll get cracking. I'll show you how to make the stakes and all that, and we'll get the first profile set up. Yeah, so basically you want to get yourselves a sturdy piece of treated 2x2 for your pegs, and you want something sturdy and substantial also for your cross rail that you're going to attach your screws to set out your building lines. So I got just a treated 6x2. Obviously we're going to want to make it a point to help us bang it in. So if I just mark a knot on that end, I ain't going to use that bit. We want quite a steep angle, don't we? So I would say twice the width of the timber. So let's just go 100mm. Mark that all the way around. And then find the center. So they're 45, so that's 22.5mm. 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 And then this bit's slightly dodgy, so don't try this at home, kids. basically you want something like that, obviously. A stake through the heart. And so yeah, we'll just repeat that process. We're going to need 2, 4, 6, 8 of these. So here's the first profile in place. We couldn't really film it because I needed 2 pairs of hands really. So basically that was the mark that we made earlier. So I've made sure I've come well past that, and then obviously I'm out of the foot in there, so that doesn't matter. That can just get concreted in when we do the concrete. And obviously this, then we have to do an extra long profile board on this one because we have to get past the trench to here, so we can still pour the concrete for the footings without ever having to move this profile once it's set. And we've basically paralleled this board off the building either end, so that, and it's perfectly level. It should be anyway. As you can see, the bubbles in the middle. So now what we need to do is basically repeat that process across there. One of us hold a string in the corner there and just cast it over that short distance. It's not going to be a very accurate reading, I don't think, but brickwork should be in line because it will have all been done off a string line, because this conservatory is obviously an add-on. It'd be nice if we could just take it down, but we can't really. So yeah, we'll do that. Cast that straight through to somewhere, if we're in line there, somewhere just before the dumper, yeah. Making sure we can still get machines round it. Because we've got more digging out to do after the footings are poured. And then we need to do our parallel ones there. And then we'll go, once we've done the rough position of the profile boards, again, we're going to set a datum this time. Because we want all these profile boards to be exactly the same height. So when you're pulling your lines and you're measuring, it's a true reading, because obviously if you were measuring diagonally between them, that could potentially make it a longer length than what it was if it was dead level like that. So yeah, we'll get all these at the same point, setting the datum like we did before in the other video, and then we'll just check all the tops of these profiles after we've done with the staff and the laser detector. Then we'll work on marking out the actual profiles themselves to give us all our dimensions of our wall, etc, etc. Okay, here we go. So here we go. Papa Keith is holding the string in the corner whilst I pull it towards the building until it touches that brick on the very edge, and then I mark my line with the spray paint for the position of the first peg. Now gently starting the peg off to keep it square to that line, and then we begin the dreaded trust exercise, being careful not to smash my dad's head or hands. And I'm sending him home, baby, sending him home. Quick Google test. Now we're measuring the distance to the first peg off the building, and now we're marking the same distance for the second peg. Again, start him off gently. Trust test. Send him home, baby. Oh. Right, now we are marking the levels with using the laser detector to the top of the where the top of the profile board needs to be. Now I'm measuring the length of my profile board, making sure I allow plenty of length each side of the post. Now I'm countersinking because my bloody screws weren't long enough, and here I'm clamping the board roughly in position and checking with the actual spirit level to make sure it's bob on, and once I'm happy I will then screw it to the pegs. Right, now we're double checking our measurements to make sure that profile board is bang on parallel with the building, so it doesn't affect our measurements.
So the next step now is where I am measuring 3 meters from the building and popping a pin in the ground. Double checking on the tape measure to make sure it's 3 meters, and then repeating the process on the far end of the building and locking my pin in. Now we're double checking the measurement to make sure we're 3 meters that end. Now I'm tying a string around the first peg, and I will pull it all the way to the end and move it across until it just touches the second peg, and mark the line with the spray paint. Now I'm turning around, changing direction, and pulling it past the first peg and marking that for the position of my stake. Again, gently setting it off, square to the line, trust exercise, and send it home. Same with the second peg. Measure my profile, offer the profile up so I know where to drill my countersinks. Marking the top of the profile board on the laser, using the laser level. Clamping it roughly in position. And the other side. Extra pair of hands comes in handy here, as well as the clamps. And then just double checking with the spirit level. I believe this one was slightly out, so it needs a little bit of a tippy tappy. And then when you're happy, just screw it home. Now my dad's digging out a small area because we couldn't get enough depth on our profiles so to get it level, so we just needed to remove a bit of earth. Checking it with a laser. Offering up the profile to check that we've gone deep enough, and here we have. Countersinking, clamping, checking the level again, and with the spirit level again. I think this one needs a bit of a tippy tappy. There it is, tippy tappy, and again, and then screw him home.
We interrupt this broadcast due to serious technical difficulties. Normal program will resume as soon as the issue has been resolved. Apologies for the inconvenience. Someone has dropped a massive bollock. Oh, Shaka Khan.
You know, I said I was nervous the other day about doing my first how-to in-depth episode, and I had new kit and I was probably going to break it. Well, I manifested my own crap, basically, because I didn't break my new kit. I dropped my phone and smashed the screen, and I thought, oh no, I'm due a new phone, so I didn't want to pay for a repair. But then I thought, how am I going to get the data off and all these video footage that I've been filming over the last 2 weeks? So I had to try and do the how-to video with my new GoPro thing with my dad, and it wasn't very easy because I wasn't used to it, and I had to try and quickly learn how to use it. And for some reason it's got like an auto off mode if you don't use it, and I thought, well, that's only going to work if it's not recording, but actually no, it turns off when it's recording. So I was wondering, wow, we've somehow managed to do videos at exactly the same time. Isn't that weird? 10 minutes and 18 seconds. So yeah, that's when it shuts off, and so that's probably a disaster. So we just carried on regardless, the best we can. So when I come to edit, I hope I've got something, but just in case, I'm going to do a little recap of how we went about this. Okay, so here we go. Oh yeah, so I had no choice but to get my phone repaired. So I took it to the local phone repair shop, and I got shafted by some Turkish Del boy.
But then I remembered, you know, when I'd been to Turkey and you just haggle like hell. Why didn't I haggle? I think it's a British thing, isn't it? 130 quid. And then, because he saw me in my get-up, he said, oh, is it a business? I should have said no. And then I said yes. Oh, well, we charge VAT then. I thought that's not how it works. You don't charge VAT. You charge VAT if you're VAT registered, not if someone purchasing off you is VAT registered. That doesn't make sense. So I said, well, I'm not VAT registered, pal, so no, I can't claim the VAT back. He said, oh, okay, I'll do it for 130 then. And I was like, okay. But they fixed it. It works. Look, it's back. Gonna take me a while to get used to that other camera because the screen is tiny. And yeah, I have to work out how to stop it turning off every 10 minutes and 18 seconds. So anyway, gibbering now. Bye. So my dad kindly yesterday put all my plans nice and neat, taped up on the wall. I didn't quite have the heart to tell him though, when I came back from getting diesel, that I am going to be smashing that wall out soon. So bless him. But he does like things just so. I know where I get it from now. Right, so basically I'll explain what we did yesterday and a few anomalies that I've spotted. So here we have the existing elevations. So I'm currently stood in the garage. Okay. That's just the cross section building. I'll come to that one in a minute. This is the proposed extension, right? So I noticed, usually obviously demolition is in red, dashed. New cavity walls are in the pink. Okay, and all the grey is just existing. There's discrepancies on the drawings. You know, it clearly shows a step there. There's a step in reality, there's a step there, but on the plan, it's flush, right? But then I looked out here, and I was gibbering on about there being a step in the thing there, and we're going to have to, because I didn't know how they were going to form this infill bit for the thing. I thought we might do it in like brickwork flush and then form the cavity with timber, stud work, whatever, insulate it and everything to bring it up to the U value regs. So I was just assuming, again, assumption being the mother of all you-know-whats, that our extension building line was from there. But it's not. It's from there. So then I came to think, well, surely if we're doing away with this bit and putting a new cavity wall there, we're going to require new footings all the way along there, which then begs the question to me, why, if we look at this structural plan, why is it telling me to underpin a pad foundation under the existing footings? Because surely the easiest thing to do, rather than trying to do that in situ, this wall's getting removed anyway. All this corner is supporting is the roof. They're having a new cut roof anyway. Well, I'd like to do a new cut roof. I don't really want to joint onto this because it's, in all honesty, a bit crap. I think the plan is, well, what I'm going to suggest to the client when he comes back is I take the roof off to probably there so it doesn't expose the actual house, so it's still in the garage. Take the roof off there, take the trusses off, take this lintel down, take that wall down there, because the corner of the house is all the way back there, so that can come straight down. This nib can come out, And then we basically just chop the render off and use wall starters or open the cavity, but it's not brickwork, so to be honest that's a lot of work for nothing. We'll just do a vertical DPC instead, and then basically I can take, if I got to have a 900 pad under there, surely I can just cut back 300, knock that wall out there, boosh, and I can get the digger in. And do we even need such a substantial pad, or do we can just cut the existing footing there and just have one big 900 square there? I'm gonna have to ring him, I think, and say, can you just redesign this with a different detail for the, I just don't see the point in it, to be honest. Why go to the effort? I don't get it. So yeah, I mean, we can still do a 900 by 900 pad, but it doesn't have to be cut under the existing footing, because there's no need, because I can have access to all that and just tie it in with some you know, rebar and resin, anchor resin, into this new square pad, and then just the concrete will just flow through there, fill up that, flow through there, throw down there, and throw down there. So that's what I'm going to suggest anyway. So I've discreetly put a screw in there somewhere. Oh yeah, in the mortar joint, so I can pull my string line around this corner, and then I pulled it all the way through over to the clay there, and when it just touches that corner there of the brickwork, that is our building line of the front elevation. So then when I did that, that told me roughly where my profile board needed to be. We've dug this bit away so that obviously there's a tiny little nib left there, if you can see, and if you tried to bang a peg in there, all that would just go into your footing you've dug. Put that one on there so it's out of the footing again, obviously, so we can still pour our concrete and all underneath, and these can stay there forever and a day. That was the first thing we did, and obviously we have leveled that perfectly level. Then we set up the laser, we got the datum line of the top of that, and so we get all our profiles exactly the same height, so that when they cross in the corners, they're pretty much bang on touching each other nice. Then we did this side, so didn't really know what else to do really here, so we've literally, so if anything's out at the end, out of square, it'll be because of this, I'd imagine. We've just literally held a string in the corner there until it touched the corner there, projected it through to there, kept it back so we can still get the digger in to dig this line, and we can still get the digger round here, still get the digger around there to do when I dig this footing out now today. Knocked our pegs in, so that is then the building line there at the back of the house. Then the next thing we did is we took a parallel measurement of 3 meters, which is the width of the extension, from this corner here to there, and we put a pin in the ground. Then we did exactly the same over there, put a pin in the ground, we wrapped the string around that pin, projected it through to there to make sure we're well out of the way of the dig area and we're not in that footing, so we're just outside the footing. That's why we dug that bit away as well, and come across, and we're aware that we still need to get the dumper up this ramp at the moment. Kept it well out of the way of that so we can still get the dumper through. Marked that with a pencil. From that point we took this pin out here, because we've got our line over there, pulled that through till it just touched this pin and then projected it onto that profile and set that profile up. Then I set up these, started to set up our string to form the outside of the cavity wall. So it starts there, boosh, goes to there, boosh, to there, boosh, goes along there, boosh, to there, boosh, and then to there, boosh. And then that, obviously, it looks nice and square, but so then just to be extra sure, we measured from there to this string and from there to the string there. And to be fair, considering it was done with knocking a peg in the ground, I think one measures 3001 mil, so we're 1 mil out of the 3 meters, and that side, however, does measure 3009. So that, we ran out of time, by the way, at this point, so that needs tweaking slightly. But obviously we did our diagonal, so we measured from this point here, and where we've got render holding us off the wall, we've checked the distance between the back of that timber and the brick, and also done the same on that side, checked the distance from the back of the timber to the brick. They're exactly the same, so we measured diagonally from this point here to the intersection of the corner of the building, the proposed building, and then from this point here to the corner of there. And lo and behold, one diagonal was 20 millimeters, which is 2 centimeters longer than the other diagonal, which means if you half that, it means that we're 10 mil out of square overall, which is pretty cool, really. So I'm guessing this will have something to do with it, the fact that these aren't perfectly parallel with the building. So it's just a case of tweaking one of these 2 screws over a little bit to get that perfect. And then if it's still not right, then once I've paralleled that, I don't think I'm going to touch this line, so that screw there, because that's lovely and true with the front of the house. So I'm probably, any alterations I will do on that screw to either make one of our diagonals longer or shorter until they're equal. And then with the customer, then I set up the string lines from the setting out we did. I perfectly paralleled off the building now to the millimeter. So I wasn't going to touch this corner because we had a good line off the building there. So we measured diagonal from the corner of the building there to the intersection on the string about there. Same there to the intersection of the string about there. And we were 20 mil out, which isn't bad for a guess. So I knew this corner would be the problem because we only had a little bit to go off. So I basically tweaked this screw to, this was the longest diagonal from there to there. So I've tweaked that screw in a touch at a time until we got bang on to the millimeter, the same measurement from there to there as there to there. So we are to the mill, perfectly square and parallel with that building now. So the reason I go to so much effort is because I'm going to be the one doing the block work, putting the roof on, and if your building's out of square, it just makes life bloody difficult for no reason. So it's worth spending an extra, you know, it only takes a couple of minutes to tweak them screws just to make sure you're perfect. So, and now as you can see, I've marked everything out. So from we stringed the outside of the block, okay, so you can see I've moved that originally there slightly, ever so slightly, to get the building parallel with the existing building. So then from there I've measured 150, so that's the outside of my footing, then 100 mil to the for the outside block of the cavity wall, 125 mil cavity, which is what is specified on the drawings, a 75mm and PIR with 50mm air gap. And then, sorry, it's that way, PIR air gap. Then that is the inside block, 100mm, and then from that point 150 to my footing, out inside of my footing. I mean, a lot of people just still do a 600 footing and just mark the center of the 600 bucket, but I don't know, ever since cavities have grown, I was always told that, you know, you have to have 150 minimum from the outside of your wall. So you end up sometimes over digging anyway, width-wise. So I like to have 2 reference lines. So because my footing is now 625mm. I don't know if that's OTT fussy. I don't know. It's just what I've done. But seeing other people do it, they still do the 600 with the center line. But I like to do 2 lines just so that I know I'm right.